How many of you here have your own startup now? 1, 2, 3. Okay, some of them half, so they are in doubt. Like us, at 40, we start feeling that, we are too much into corporate, whether to go and, start or, continue my journey. And I'm sure rest of them, should I assume that you are looking for a job the moment you get out of your engineering or your programs? Yes? Okay, so my job is easy because I had those pictures only for the people who are job seekers. Unfortunately, I didn't do much for the people who actually have startups. Because with startups, I work very closely and not with many of the students that way. Let me tell you, if you really want a job, you don't need to worry. You don't need to prepare anything, right? And you don't need to be here also. You don't need to waste this much of time as much. Is that clear? If you just want a job, you don't need to really spend this much of time, right? So why I am saying is that getting a job is easy, right? The other speaker talked about, employability and all that stuff, okay? The only problem is that we don't express, our intention to work when we go to the, interviews. When you go for interviews, we don't say our intent, actually, that's it, right? Because you are just one among them. There are 50 people coming in, you are also one among them. I see outside the job mela, there are thousands of people, right? But how many of them really seriously comes on board actually is very, very, very difficult. Maybe, they are just coming along with, some 10 people, 15 people, you are also joining. Or maybe, it's just a good outing whenever the campus recruitments are done, right? But one thing I can tell you that getting a job is easy. The reason being that you all must be feeling that attending an interview, going for a, selection process, you feel it's tedious, very tedious, very, very hard, right? But let me tell you, you are only one person attending for an interview for yourself, right? When you go, you are the only one person. And you will talk to the interviewer only once, isn't it? 5-10 minutes or whatever it is. But whereas just imagine an interviewer. What is the situation? What is our situation? Meeting 50 people on the same day, and then not anybody is interested on a real job, right? They are not really relating something that they have learned, their skill, to what the job is. So what I actually say is, the biggest challenge of getting a job is you are not empathizing the situation of the interviewer. Okay, so don't worry about yourself, but you are not actually sympathizing with the situation of the interviewer, because many a times we had experiences, not just here or everywhere, is that at the end of the series of meetings, we get so tired on the day after interviewing and still not able to find anyone. Okay, and then we kind of end of the day, when we actually, 20 people, you have to select somebody, you just go by the gut feeling, okay, somebody like this felt, that, okay, maybe in the job scenario, they may be very good. There's no judgment, okay? Let me also tell you that 99% of the people who are interviewing you are not trained to interview. Is that good? Good enough? Right? So you be at ease. You don't need to worry, because nobody knows how to interview, right? They're also understanding from the experiences. And they would have never figured out a best way to possibly to choose a right person. Even me, 25 years, must have done more than 10,000 hirings on my own, maybe more than lakh of people I would have interviewed, but I have never figured out, I can never guarantee that this is a person that is going to fit into this job. I can always tell you that. Okay, so that's the scenario. That's a typical scenario. Okay, there are only two things that happens, right? There is one, from college when you want to go there are only two choices. A job which can give you a career you should choose, or just start up now, okay? In both ways, you have an advantage, okay? If you just get a job, any job you can get, right? Today there are just jobs, because you are not even focused on, what job that you want to get into, right? Anybody can just get a job. But a job which actually gives you satisfaction and also build your career based on what you have actually spent, I think is very, very important, right? But again, what is going to happen is, it's like that circle, you keep running. Corporate, you're actually into that circle always. On the other hand, the startup may look like, it's very humongous task, but let me tell you that my sincere advice is just don't look for a job now, just go and start something and fail. And then come back and tell me that who will not give you a job. That's for sure, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we know all the influences, right? End of the day, we don't work for ourselves, right? You can see, these are the cartoons which are created by Shankar, who's actually now with Sakshi, who's the senior, editor. When I explained this is the situation, he just picturized these things, right? And I'm sure these are all very, very useful. And that also what happens is, when you actually have to decide, so people decide, okay, you go this way, you go this way, you go this way. So I can empathize with you guys, what is the kind of a pressure that you go through. So, but one thing for sure that please you decide, right? You don't listen to anyone. If you have that characteristic, then I think you made your career, right? So again, this look at this, you need to have a preparation. And all the preparation that I told you is sympathize or empathize with the guy who's actually interviewing you. I'm not asking you to be prepared fully well. Just sympathize, right? How do we sympathize, right? So you need to understand, what these companies are. And, we have few types of people who can actually project well, but, actually there's no matter, right? And there are people who are very well prepared, but we see many a times they are very well prepared, very intellectuals, but they can't express, and that's a problem. But I think where it will matter is that even if you are very well prepared, you know your subject, whatever that you know is your subject, and if you're able to express, I think that's the best way to do, right? Okay, so 20 years, 21 years that you really spent your life, and you don't want to just waste it, right? So you need to have a bit of focus to prepare. This is what happens to us. This is a recruiter's problem. Can you see it? Okay, just to recruit some 10 people, we have to meet some 1,000 people. So just please help, okay? I'm not asking you to prepare, just help. Help us to, communicate well, okay? And also one of the things that you need to understand is that when that is a kind of a filtration that is going through, we really look for multiple opportunities, okay? Not necessarily just the job mailer. So we actually find about 50 odd, ways of actually identifying the talent. So you need to know, or you need to be in the source at which the person is searching for. So please help him to see you there, where actually the person is searching for you. That's very important. And I'm sure, it's like the running race, you have to just, get ready, get set, go. Yeah, I think this is one of the best thing that I liked, in the whole thing, that, you want to get married and you don't know who the person is, right? Right? This is just that, okay? Just that. Keep this in mind, because they would like to know who you are. Can we live together? Can we actually work together? I think that's the, essence of this picture. Okay, so when I think Grab-on guys were explaining, he's actually trying to make point after point after point that, okay, these are some qualities which are required for our company. Imagine, they need some healthy, team members to be healthy as an organization. And you can see he's been offering you, lots of discounts and quotes and, right? It is really tough. Can you see the effort that he's making while he's explaining about the concept and he's helping you? But this is also one of the way actually he's trying to explain, create a brand for employer. Look at this, it is so tough. I mean, on a Saturday he has to take a break and come back here and spend with time. And then, and if you don't see a response, I can see the frustration, on the person that, okay, I'm actually been asking and nobody responding, right? While we understand and appreciate post-lunch situation, right? Okay, so it's the same thing. What I said is, you would like to know what you would like to know. It's the same thing. An employer and an interviewer also would like to know what he wanted to know. It doesn't matter, how much do you know. Frankly speaking, you go and analyze yourself, not even 1% that you would have actually related, after you finish your interaction with people. right? Because you've been saying, whatever. So I think you need to really understand, even if you don't mind, just ask them, what is that you're looking at? Just one question, solve your problem, okay? Again, some of these group discussions, okay, we keep talking about this is right, that is wrong and all. I don't think we ever look at what is the content that you're talking. Let me tell you. It's just the way that you're approaching. It's just the way you're communicating. It's just the way that you're actually helping people to come to a common conclusion, right? And one more thing, please understand, unfortunately, the system is wrong. Unfortunately, we interview individually and ask them to work in teams. Okay, and your scores are individual, and we ask them to work in teams. It's a nonsense, and that's what happens. And that's where we don't know how to interview. And that's where you don't know. You are interviewing me, but I have to work somewhere. He's looking at how do you work a team in a team, and he's interviewing you. Okay, so there are something which are coming up more as a group interviews nowadays. It's happening because instead of meeting 1,000 people, if I meet them in 10 group, I can actually reduce my number of hours, right? And in a group, I can see how it's coordinated, how the viewpoints are come up. So a group discussion and a group interview. There are some changes that are happening. So I'm sure you will figure out when you reach that stage. Okay, of course, I don't want somebody just walking in. We had a lot of issues, with that. You might have actually traveled all the way from Vanasthalipuram to, this place. But I think you just make sure that, the other person has patience to listen to you, right? This is a practical experience, so that's why we actually put that. You love the interviewer, but don't forget the cause. Okay, that's very important.